Hello and welcome to the Full Cycle Ottawa YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Josh and today we're going to be installing some bar tape on this new Cervelo. There's a lot of different bar tapes available right now. Some thick, some thin, foam types, some that have a rubber feel to them. It really boils down to personal preference. If you're interested in checking out some bar tape, you can click on the link below and browse our selection. My recommendation would be my personal favorite here, the Lizard Skin DSP bar tape. The first step with doing bar tape is going to be making sure that the hoods are actually rolled back so you have full access underneath it there. Of course, if you were rewrapping the bars on an existing bike, you would need to unroll all the bar tape and take it all off. This, of course, is a brand new bike that's never had bar tape on, so we're starting from scratch on this one. The second thing we're going to want to do is make sure that our cable housing is all tucked in and tidy up against the bars. I've got my electrical tape here, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull these cables in nice and tight. That first wrap is going to be a little loose. You can kind of hold these and help push them in. We're going to get that nice and tight there just to hold those cables right in. And then instead of cutting and breaking, I just go for a bit of a spiral here. And then as we get to the end, I like to do a little bit more around this final spot here, right at the end of the bar tape. And the reason for that is because as you turn the bars, the cables can have a tendency to stretch this open. So maybe you've ever noticed on a bike that you've previously had where it kind of tears up the bar tape and starts to pull it off the bar. So securing this in place can help to prevent that. What I do next is just cut the bar tape, and then we're just going to roll this down. We repeat the same process for the other side as well. When we start our bar tape, I like to take this guy here and I overhang about 50% of it off the end of the bar, and I just tack that onto the top. And I actually wrap it straight around, so you're not putting any angle on the bar tape yet. And once it meets itself, then you start to angle. And the reason we do this is so that when we come to put our end plug in, we've actually got full wrap there. If I was to angle this the whole way around, it would end up looking like this. And then after the end plug goes in, we've got exposed bar there. So we do need to make sure that we go straight around with no angle. And once that's there, then we can pull the angle. And what we're doing here is pulling with a moderate amount of tension. It kind of varies based off what tape you have. This is pretty flexible tape, so I don't want to pull too hard, otherwise I'll tear it. For something like Supicaz tape, that's pretty tough. And in my experience, it needs to be pulled a little bit more than a lot of other tapes. But again, you're not using a lot of force when you pull this, just a moderate enough amount to make sure that you're pulling enough tension that it sits tight. You'll also notice that I was wrapping outwards away from the bike. That's very important for bar tape. When you ride the bike, you have a tendency to twist this way with your hands when you're in the drop. If you wrap the other way, you'll actually unroll it. So the force of twisting causes it to loosen off. So by wrapping it in this direction, as your hand twists, it actually tightens the bar tape. And that's going to help keep it secure for a longer period of time. Once we get up to this point here, where we're about half a bar tape width up to the hood, we begin doing the process where we wrap around the hood. Some bar tape comes with the little piece that goes behind here. That's really not needed. This bar tape did not come with that piece. If we wrap correctly, we shouldn't need it at all. So from in here, once you get to this point where you're close, you'll come back around under and you're actually going to wrap up and over the top. So you'll see where we're landing on the hood. We're going pretty far up the hood, but we're not like stretching to try and get as far as we can. And then we come straight back down, and then we're going to go in and behind again. So again, stretching with a moderate amount of force, and then we're going to pull it right around to this point here. So that's going to close off that gap that we left, and then from there we come underneath, and then we're going to go back over top again and back down And then we're all set to continue doing the top. Again, continuing to pull with moderate pressure. And as always, I want to make sure that I'm wrapping over the bar tape, leaving about maybe 40% wrapped over the existing bar tape, and then 60% onto the bar. If you feel like the spacing's not quite right, when you do this, you can always wrap back and reset. It's important too to note that this sticky backing part, you need to make sure that that's a little bit on the existing bar tape that you've already done, but it does need to be on the handlebar itself. So now from here, we're getting close enough to our endpoint that I'm actually going to switch around here, and then we're going to cut the tape. We don't cut in a straight line across the tape. What we want to do is kind of from the end where we've got the electrical tape there, you kind of draw a straight line forward while keeping this bar tape at the same angle that you've been wrapping it across the top. And you want to end your cut about where that electrical tape was. So I'm going to start right about here. And then I'm going to need to switch over. And then I ran out of space there, so I'm just going to clean this cut up here. And then from there, go just like this. With our bar tape fully installed, now we're ready to use our electrical tape to secure it in place. So what we do here, you can start in front. I like to start with it right about flat. So the edge flush to the other side, we're just going to avoid that cable there. And I go over there. Being careful, the front edge of my tape is wanting to peel up. So we go there. And then what we're going to do here, this is a bit of a tricky one. I don't like using the finishing tape that's provided with bar tape. I find it's not very good. I use electrical tape instead. So what I do is I actually stretch it out. And then the edge will actually sit right in there. So like this, I'm stretching it enough that it's just curling over that inside edge. So I'm giving it enough tape that hangs over the edge that it will actually pull over. And then we'll come back up here. And then this front point here where we see that little corner of tape there, we do want to cover that up and make that flush. So just like that, we go flush. And then we'll do one more here. And then just like before, we let the electrical tape hang, kind of like no tension. This tape will have a tendency to sort of shrink back. So if you really stretch it out and then apply it, over time it's going to shrink back. So when we finish this spot here, I always like to leave the little finished end under the bar, and we're not going to use any tension. We're just going to apply that, and we can squeeze that on with our hand. Get that on there real good and tight. And then that's it. We're now going to repeat the process on the left side of the handlebar. It's the exact same process, it's just completely mirrored. So we're going to go ahead and show that just so that no one gets confused. So again, we start there, do the full wrap, and then continue wrapping at an angle. I was kind of thinking that for this part here, you could speed it up and it would just be like right up until we get to the hood. So like before, we're at that point where we've got about half a bar tape width right underneath of your lever. So then we're going to go around. And then once we get back up here, we're not going to go under. We're going to go up and over the top. And then back down behind the bar. And I'm holding this in place because what you don't want to do is go up and then like pull it back. You want that bar tape to stay up on top. So you want that up there. And I'm holding it in place, going in here, around behind. We're meeting up at the side. Then we're going to go back around here, under there. And then we're going to keep going across the top as well. And again, as we wrap forwards here, that's important as well because whenever you're riding on the top of the bars, you tend to be resting with your palms and pushing it forwards. So with the bar tape wrapping forwards, that's going to help actually tighten the bar tape as you push it forwards instead of loosening it off. So once we check for even here, because we do want both sides to be the same distance from the stem, it looks kind of silly when you don't make sure that that's done to the correct spacing. We're ready to cut this again. So again, that same kind of angle. But of course, we're cutting the angle the opposite direction that we would have last time. And as we get to the end of this, we're not going to continue to pull, because with the stretchy tape, you'll tear it if you continue to pull it as you get to the end. So we're there. Just going to reset this and make sure that I'm lining up to the edge of my electrical tape. So then again, we're right there. And we're good. So then of course, with this stuff all wrapped up, we're ready to take our electrical tape, drop in here, get this first wrap that's just going to hold it in place, and then I'm feeding it just enough so that we get that to sort of sit right into that. We're going to do that all the way around. We're going to go under the bar to do that. And then with that done, now we're just going to wrap it straight. And now with that wrap done, we're ready to cut. So as it comes off the front here, we're going to cut just enough so that that cut edge of electrical tape is going to finish underneath the bar. And then we're just going to take this, and again, without stretching it, we're just going to tuck it up underneath there, and we're going to secure it in place. And then we're done the wrap job. Now the final two steps to finalize the bar tape job is of course going to be the end plugs and then folding our hoods in. So we got our plug here ready to go, and we're going to hold it close by there. So we're going to push all the excess tape into the bar, and then we're going to use our plug to kind of finish pushing in. Just back my thumb away there. And then we're going to push all that in. Make sure it's fully seated with my palm. And now this guy here is the kind where you tighten it up with a 3mm. So I'm just going to snug this up. We're not going crazy tight. You're going to feel it begin to cinch up, and that's when we're going to stop. It's all plastic in there, so if we try and go crazy hard, it's going to break. It's just got to be tight enough not to come out. So that's it. And then of course the hood on this side. And that's the right side finished off now. And we repeat those same steps on the left side. We can double check and make sure that we hit all our points correctly. So you'll see here, even though we didn't use the strip that would go behind the bar, there's still nothing exposed on either side of the hood. And that's it. You're all set to ride with some fresh bar tape. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and tune in for future videos every Thursday.